I am 104 years old and I am not afraid of dying. That sentence alone usually makes people stop and listen. I have watched entire generations arrive and disappear while I remain here, breathing slowly, remembering everything. People think long life is about medicine, luck, or strong bodies, but none of that kept me alive this long. What truly kept me here is something far quieter and far harder to learn. I am 104 years old, and when I say that number out loud, I feel the weight of time more than pride. I was born in a world that no longer exists, a world without electricity in every home, without fast machines, without people rushing everywhere as if time were chasing them. I have lived through hunger, war, loss, and long periods of silence where nothing seemed to change at all. Many people assume that reaching this age must feel like a miracle, but to me it feels like responsibility. Every year that passes becomes a quiet question asking why I am still here when so many others left earlier. I have buried friends who were stronger than me, smarter than me, and younger than me. Age did not choose favorites. Life simply moved forward, and I learned to move with it. When people hear my age, they often react with fear or amazement, but I feel neither. I feel calm acknowledgement. My age is not a trophy, and it is not a punishment. It is simply the result of many small decisions made over a long time, decisions about anger, patience, gratitude, and acceptance. I say my age openly because denying it would mean denying my life itself. Every wrinkle on my face carries a memory, and every memory reminds me that time does not need to be feared. It needs to be respected. Admitting my age is the first step to understanding why I'm not afraid of what comes next. People often tell me that living past 100 years must be a matter of luck, as if I simply woke up one morning and time decided to spare me. I do not believe that. Luck may open a door, but it does not keep you standing for decades. I have watched many people rely on luck while ignoring the way they live, and most of them burned out early, not always in body, but in spirit. Long life is not an accident. It is the slow result of how a person responds to hardship again and again. When life became difficult, I did not ask why it was happening to me. I asked how I could live through it without breaking myself. I learned early that fighting reality wastes energy that the body cannot afford to lose. Every argument held too long, every anger fed daily, every regret replayed endlessly takes something from you. People think time ages the body, but I have learned that resistance ages it faster. I survived not because my life was easy, but because I adjusted instead of resisting. When food was scarce, I ate simply. When work was heavy, I rested when I could. When loss came, I allowed myself to grieve, then I allowed myself to continue living. Many people get stuck in one painful moment and never leave it. Their bodies may keep moving, but their lives stop there. Mine did not. I accepted that life would never return what it took from me, and that acceptance freed me. Living long is not about adding years. It is about removing what slowly kills you from the inside, one unnecessary burden at a time. The first lesson that truly changed my life came when I realized that life would never follow my plans. As a young man, I believed that if I worked hard enough and behaved correctly, life would reward me fairly. That belief did not last long. I saw good people suffer while careless people succeeded, and I watched effort disappear without recognition. At first, this made me angry. I carried that anger quietly, thinking it would protect me, but instead it exhausted me. Over time, I noticed that my body reacted to my thoughts. When I resisted reality, my sleep grew shallow, my breath shortened, and my days felt heavier than they needed to be. Acceptance did not come suddenly. It arrived slowly after many disappointments taught me the same lesson repeatedly. I learned that accepting reality does not mean approving of it. It means understanding that fighting what already exists only multiplies suffering. Once I accepted that pain, loss, and uncertainty were permanent companions, I stopped wasting energy wishing for a different life. That energy returned to my body in quiet ways. My movements became lighter, my appetite steadier, and my mind less crowded. Many people confuse acceptance with weakness, but it is the opposite. Acceptance requires strength because it demands honesty. You must admit that some things will never change and choose to live fully anyway. That decision saved me more years than any medicine ever could, because it allowed my body to rest from constant resistance. People assume that reaching 104 years of age should make a man cling desperately to life, but the opposite happened to me. The longer I lived, the less fear I carried about the end. Fear of dying often comes from unfinished arguments with life itself. Many people reach old age still angry about what they did not receive, still chasing apologies that never came, still replaying moments they wish they could change. I made a different choice. I stopped negotiating with the past. I accepted what I had done well and what I had done poorly, and I allowed both to belong to me without excuse. That acceptance brought peace, and peace slowly dissolved fear. I am not eager to die, but I am not afraid of it either. Death feels like a natural closing, not a punishment. I have already said what needed to be said to the people who mattered. I have already forgiven those who never asked for forgiveness, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved rest. When you carry resentment for decades, it tightens the chest and shortens the breath. Letting go loosens the body in ways no exercise can. I learned that fear keeps the body alert long after danger has passed, and a body that never rests cannot last long. By making peace with my life, I allowed my body to relax into each day. That relaxation extended my years and clarified my mind. When death eventually arrives, it will meet a man who already finished his conversation with life, and that is why I am not afraid. The first true key to long life is acceptance, and I do not mean passive surrender or giving up on effort. Acceptance is the discipline of recognizing what cannot be changed and refusing to let it poison the rest of your days. I spent many years watching people age quickly, not because their bodies failed, but because their minds never stopped arguing with reality. They replayed old injustices, repeated the same complaints, and carried emotional weight that grew heavier each year. I chose a different path. When something painful happened, I allowed myself to feel it fully, but I did not build a permanent home inside that pain. I acknowledged it, learned from it, and then stepped forward. Acceptance saved my strength. Every time I released resentment, my body rested more deeply at night. Every time I stopped wishing the past were different, my breathing slowed and my heart felt lighter. People underestimate how much energy anger consumes over time. It tightens muscles, disrupts sleep, and keeps the nervous system trapped in a state of alertness that the body cannot sustain forever. Acceptance interrupts that cycle. It tells the body that it is safe to relax. Over decades, that relaxation becomes longevity. Accepting reality also taught me humility. I learned that I was not meant to control life, only to participate in it responsibly. That understanding removed pressure I never needed to carry. Acceptance did not make my life perfect, but it made it livable, and a life that can be lived calmly day after day naturally lasts longer than one spent fighting invisible battles. The second key to long life is living simply, and this is something many people misunderstand in modern times. Simple living does not mean living poorly or denying yourself dignity. It means knowing when enough is enough and having the discipline to stop there. I grew up in a time when excess was rare, so my body learned early how to function without constant stimulation. I ate when I was hungry and stopped before my body felt heavy. I worked hard, but I rested without guilt when my strength faded. I did not chase luxury because I saw how desire grows faster than satisfaction. Many people believe comfort comes from having more, but I watched more possessions bring more worry, more comparison, and more fear of loss. Simplicity kept my mind quiet. A quiet mind allows the body to regulate itself naturally. When you are not constantly craving, your digestion improves, your sleep deepens, and your breathing steadies. I wore clothes until they were worn out, not because I was poor, but because I did not need novelty to feel alive. I ate familiar foods because my body trusted them. I kept routines because predictability calms the nervous system. Over many decades, these small choices protected my health more than any strict rule ever could. Excess pulls the body into constant adjustment, while simplicity lets it remain balanced. Balance, when maintained long enough, becomes endurance, and endurance, practiced daily, quietly turns into a long life. The third key to long life is continuous movement, not intense effort or exhausting exercise, but gentle motion that never completely stops. I learned early that the body was designed to move until the final day, and once it stops moving, it begins to forget how to live. Many people believe rest means stillness, but stillness, when it lasts too long, becomes decay. Throughout my life, I kept my body in motion in simple ways. I walked slowly, I worked with my hands, I stood up often, and I avoided sitting for long hours without reason. Even when my strength declined, I adjusted instead of quitting. I reduced speed, not intention. I shortened distance, not consistency. Movement kept my blood flowing and my joints alive, but more importantly, it kept my mind connected to my body. When you move regularly, your body speaks clearly. It tells you when to slow down and when to continue. People who avoid movement lose that conversation and push themselves only when damage has already begun. Continuous movement also preserved my independence, which protected my dignity. Depending too quickly on others weakens the will to live. By moving daily, I reminded myself that I was still capable, still participating in life. Over decades, these small movements accumulated like interest, quietly strengthening my heart, stabilizing my balance, and sharpening my awareness. The body does not demand perfection. It demands consistency. When movement becomes a habit instead of a task, the body remains engaged with life. That engagement, sustained patiently over time, is one of the strongest reasons I am still here. I've watched many people grow old long before their time, and it rarely begins in the body. It begins in the mind. People age quickly when they stop adapting and start resisting everything that changes around them. They complain about the world becoming unfamiliar, about younger generations behaving differently, about life no longer following the rules they remember. That constant resistance hardens the mind, and a hardened mind slowly stiffens the body. I saw people my age become bitter, withdrawn, and tense, as if life owed them an apology. Their posture changed, their breathing shortened, and their energy drained away years before illness appeared. Stress is often treated as a temporary problem, but long-term stress becomes a permanent state for many people. When the body stays tense for too long, it forgets how to rest. Sleep becomes shallow, digestion weakens, and recovery slows. Over time, the body simply wears down. Another cause of early aging is comparison. People exhaust themselves measuring their lives against others, reliving regrets, and imagining alternative paths they never took. That mental noise consumes enormous energy. I learned to focus only on what was in front of me. The past could not be edited, and the future could not be controlled, so I lived where my feet stood. Acceptance returned calm to my nervous system, and calm preserved my strength. Aging is not only a matter of years passing, it is a matter of how much peace a person allows into their daily life. Those who refuse peace grow old quickly, even if their bodies continue breathing. If I could speak directly to younger generations without being interrupted by noise or doubt, I would tell them this: do not rush your life as if it is something to finish quickly. I see many young people living with constant urgency, measuring their worth by speed, productivity, and visible success. That urgency creates pressure that the body is not designed to carry for decades. I lived slowly, not because I lacked ambition, but because I understood that endurance matters more than intensity. Life is not a race that rewards the fastest runner. It is a long walk that rewards those who know when to pause, when to continue, and when to change direction. I would tell young people to protect their nervous systems as carefully as they protect their income. Sleep is not weakness. Rest is not wasted time. Silence is not emptiness. These are the foundations that allow the body and mind to recover. I would also tell them to choose relationships wisely. A single peaceful relationship adds more years to your life than many shallow connections filled with tension. Learn to forgive quickly, not because others deserve it, but because your body cannot afford the cost of holding resentment for decades. Finally, I would remind them that life will never fully explain itself. Waiting for perfect clarity delays living. Act with kindness, accept uncertainty, and remain flexible. A flexible mind keeps the body young. If you want to live long, do not try to control life. Learn to cooperate with it patiently and consistently, one ordinary day at a time. At 104 years old, I no longer measure my life by achievements or failures. I measure it by peace. Peace is what remains when ambition quiets down and comparison finally loses its voice. I wake each day without demanding anything from life, and because of that, every small moment feels like a gift rather than an obligation. I do not know how many days remain for me, and that uncertainty no longer troubles me. I learned that counting time too closely creates fear, while trusting time creates calm. My body responds to calm with steadiness. My breath stays slow, my heart remains patient, and my thoughts move gently instead of crashing into each other. I have said goodbye to urgency. Nothing important in life needs to be rushed at this stage. I eat slowly, walk carefully, and speak honestly, because pretending costs energy that I no longer waste. When I look back, I see a life that was imperfect but complete. I loved when I could, I worked when I had strength, and I rested when my body asked for it. I made mistakes, but I did not let them define my final years. Letting go of regret was my last lesson, and perhaps my most important one. Regret keeps the mind trapped in time that no longer exists. Freedom comes from standing fully in the present. That freedom softened my body and extended my years. When my life finally ends, it will end without resistance. I have lived long not because I chase life desperately, but because I learned when to loosen my grip and let it flow.